Can you start?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. Can we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Professor Academy. In this video, we're going to see syllabus and frequently asked questions in Paper 2 Law for TNSET examination. So, before going to the syllabus, let us see the preliminary concepts of TNSET. So, TNSET is an eligibility examination for assistant professor conducted for the candidates in state of Tamil Nadu, and it was previously conducted in the year 2018. This year, they have scheduled to conduct the examination from June 3rd, 2024. So, let us see the education eligibility. So, PG students with 55 percentage and for SC, ST and person with disability and third gender candidate with 50 percentage can appear for this examination. There is no upper age limit, and once you clear this examination, the result is valid throughout the lifetime. And the exam pattern is as similar to that of UGC NET. They have same exam pattern. So language this year it is only exclusively in English. So yeah. So this is about the examination. So the application form will be released from April 1 to April 30 in 2024. And the exams would be scheduled to be conducted from June 3rd to June 25, 2024. Okay. So this is the exam pattern. Just like our NET exam, TNSET also have paper 1 and paper 2. In paper 1, we will be having 50 questions out of 100 marks. So two marks each for each questions. And for subject 2, we have 100 questions and 200 marks. So in total, you'll be having 3 hours for the examination. So let us see the syllabus. So we have same syllabus as that of NET examination. So we have jurisprudence, constitutional law and administrative law. In unit 3, we have public international law and IHL. Fourth, law of crimes. Fifth, law of torts and consumer protection. Sixth, we have commercial law. Seventh, we have family law. Eighth, we have environmental and human rights law. And ninth, IPR and IT. Finally, we have comparative public law and system of governance. In total, we'll be having 10 units. So if you take unit 1, jurisprudence, it is very, very important unit. So we'll be expecting around 6 to 10 or more than 10 questions in this particular unit. It is very, very important. So within jurisprudence, we have nature and sources of law, which I have highlighted. So highlighted subunits are very important for examination, which you should give more focus. Next is School of Jurisprudence, Law and Morality, Concept of Rights and Duties, Legal Personality, Concept of Property Ownership and Possession, Concept of Liability, Law, Poverty and Development, Global Justice, Modernism and Postmodernism. So these are the these are the units given for our syllabus. So let us see the frequently asked questions from these units. So definition of jurisprudence is very important. They would ask like definitions of Salmon or Savigny, Austin, Bentham. Or any thinkers like HLA Art, Gray, Julius Stone. So these definitions are like frequently asked definitions for the examination. So you have to remember all these definitions. You have to give more focus to it. Next is definition of law. Likewise, all the thinkers from different school of thought also given definitions of law. So even that has been asked repeatedly in the examination. Next is sources of law. So sources of law like customs, legislations, precedents, and definitions given by different author are being asked frequently in our examination. Next, it is different schools and its thinkers. So you know the different schools of jurisprudence ranging from analytical school, sociological school, historical school, and realism school. So we have different schools. So you should be thorough with all these schools, and should also be thorough with the thinkers of each school, what they have said, what contribution they have given in their respective fields. Finally, we have books and thinkers. So, as you all know, jurisprudence is all about different scholars and their definition. All these things would have been given in their books. So, the books they have written, it is constantly asked in examination. So, you have to remember, you have to be thorough with the books written by these authors, and when they have written, because you might ask questions based on the chronological ordering of these books. Okay, so books written by the authors in which year they have written, so that you can answer questions relating to even the chronologically arrange the books from old to new. Okay, so these are the important questions, and apart from that, we have right and duty correlations. So you might be expecting questions like what is right, what is duty, the different types of rights and different types of duties, and its correlation like rights, privileges, liberty, no right, immunity, duty, no duty, then disability. So those kind of duty and right correlations are often asked in examination. So you have to be very thorough with it. Finally, elements of possession and ownership. Okay, so like possession of elements of possession and ownership is like very important, which you can't skip at all. So definitions given by the authors like Savigny or Salmon, and what are the components for possession and ownership. So these are all very important, and you can't skip any of these important chapters for the jurisprudence unit. So yeah, that's all about it. And next, let's see the important like books, like where you can get good materials to rely upon. So you can refer to a book written by Dr. N.V. Paranjp and Dr. V.D. Mahajan. So jurisprudence and legal theory written by Dr. N.V. Paranjp, and jurisprudence and legal theory written by our reading Mahajan. So these two books will be very useful for clearing the examination. They would have covered all the units along with the books written by the authors and the definition. So it is very comprehensive. So it will be very useful for your exam. Okay. So let's see the next unit. Unit 2, Constitutional and Administrative Law. Constitutional law, you all know it is very important. You can't skip. Definitely, you might expect around more than 10 questions from this particular unit. And I can't, I highlighted all the subunits because you might expect questions from all these subunits. You can't skip any of these units, like preamble. So even if you take last year's exam of a TNSET, they have asked questions from preamble. So case laws relating to the preamble like Berubari, Keshwananda Bharati. And apart from that, they also ask questions from the preamble itself, like socialistic, secular, democratic republic, which amendment it was inserted, and arrange the words equality, justice, liberty. So like that, they would ask such questions. And when the constitution, constitution was adopted, and such questions will be asked from preamble. So you have to read entire preamble by heart. Like at least you should know like where the words come and in which order does it come. So that by that you can answer questions from preamble. So definitely you can expect at least one question from preamble in any examinations related to law. So you can't skip at all. And next is fundamental rights and duties. So you know very well that rights are very very important. So if you take you can start from your article 12, like what is state, and like the 13 deals with all the doctrines, and 14 equality and everything. So till like 32, article 32, and if you're studying article 32, and you can't skip article 226 as well. So you have to cover all the provisions, all the articles in the constitution and the fundamental rights, and whatever case laws that comes under the hierarchical order. Sometimes in some important case laws, they might give codes given by the judges, and they might also ask which judge has pronounced this in so and so case. They would have given options of the names of judges as an option. So fundamental rights is very important, you can't skip. And duties as well. So duties, it's easy to remember from A to K, and you also remember the in which amendment the last duty that has been added, and DPSP. So DPSP, all the articles you have to remember along with the amendments which have been inserted. So you will definitely expect questions from this area. Then we have union, state, executive, and their interrelationship. So like in union, like the president, prime minister, council of minister, likewise a governor, uh, chief minister and council of ministers, and all those case laws would be frequently asked in examination, and powers of governors, power, and president's legislative power, lawmaking power, and the doctrines. These are like now frequently asked questions. And next we have union and state legislature. Then in this you have to focus mainly on money bill. How does it pass? The important articles regarding the money bill, both in union and state aspect. Next, we have distribution of legislative powers. So the list and the doctrines will help you in this regard. So next is judiciary, the establishment of Supreme Court, judges, how they're appointed, their eligibility, and their powers, then like binding powers of the Supreme Court and all their jurisdiction, and high court judges. Everything will comes under judiciary. And emergency provisions are very important. You have to see the entire chapter, each and every section, in which section they deals with like national emergency, the president power, and financial emergency. What are the criteria? So, like, how many like people, like how it been extended by the House of People, and how it can be revoked. So all these things you should focus on separately for both the national presidential rule and for the financial emergency. Next, we have temporary, transitional, and special powers. And in this, you will be studying the special provisions given to the states like Assam, Manipur, Hyderabad, Goa, so on and so forth. So you should see the respective provisions for that. And next we have Election Commission of India. So for Election Commission of India, they mainly ask the questions regarding their constitutions, powers and function, the case laws, and in which provision deals with universal adult franchisee and everything. So this is all about Election Commission of India. Next, this is all about Constitution, and now the last three subunits are focusing on administrative law. Nature, scope, and importance of administrative law. It speaks about the definition and its nature and scope, very theoretical one. And next is a principle of natural justice. You can find the repeated questions are coming from this particular subunit. So the audio autum partum, and no one can be judge of his own cause. So all those maxims will involve, and the case laws that are attached to it will be asked frequently in this examination. Finally, we have judicial review of administrative action, and only the grounds are asked in the examination. Okay. So let's see the frequently asked questions from this unit. So questions from article. Outrightly, they will ask questions from article. If you take article 14, 15, 16, they will ask questions directly from it, or they would give some twisted options. You have to find out the right options. So you have to apply your mind. So for that, you should have thorough readings of all those articles. Thorough reading of Barrack is mandatory here. Next, you have case laws. So as if you take constitution, so difference between the political science and our constitution is, in our examination will be lots of questions from the case laws would be asked. So you have to be thorough with the case laws. For at least for the popular cases, you should know the judges of the cases, and how they and the chronological order. Okay, so the year is very important. And in some case would have challenged some amendments. Some case would have upheld the amendment. So you should see which amendment they're focusing also. For example, if you take Champakam, Durarajan, like those cases associated with some kind of amendment, they came up with some kind of amendment. So you should also see the aftermath. So these are the important aspects should be covered in the case laws. Yeah, likewise, chronological order of case laws and doctrines. Let it be severability, waiver, pith on substances, and colorable legislation. So all these doctrines are very important, territorial nexus. So please be thorough with all these doctrines, and repeatedly questions will be asked from doctrines. So in the next, let's see the prescribed rule for constitution. So you can go with V.N. Shukla, Constitution of India, and Constitutional Law of India written by Dr. J.N. Pandey. So either you can go with V.N. Shukla and Pandey. So Pandey will be quite simple, and then V.N. Shukla will be like it'll be very detailed. So whatsoever suits your need, you can go with it. And reading of the back is also very important. And for administrative law, I have you can refer to lectures of administrative law by C.K. Takwani. And I also forget to mention about the constitution that in constitutional law, you should also focus on schedules. So how many schedules we have, which schedule deals with languages, and which schedule deals with tribal areas, and which schedule deals with the distribution of like powers, and what is 10 schedule, and does, like through which amendment it has come. So everything, it's very important in schedules also. So you can't miss the schedules. You have to definitely study the schedules, and even studying salient features of the constitution, because that will be helpful for your comparative constitution as well. So like where as you all know, Indian constitution is voluminous, and we have been inspired by other countries constitution. So you have to like, you have to be thorough which feature of constitution has been borrowed from which country. Okay, so be thorough with all these concepts, and if you are like well versed with this concept, you can definitely crack around 10 questions in this particular unit. It will be very helpful for your examination. Okay, so like let's see the next unit. In the next unit, it's about public international law and IHL. So the first subunit is what is international law, its definition, nature, and basis. Second one is sources of international law. Third one is recognition of states and government. Fourth one is nationality, immigrations, refugees, and internally displaced persons. Fifth one is extradition and asylum. Okay, so as I've told you, the the highlighted ones are very important. Like so, basically, questions will be asked in the definition, like Stark's definition, and Bentham's definition. So different schools, like different people throughout the time, have given different definitions on international law. So you have to be thorough with thorough with those definitions and nature and spaces. Next is sources of international law. So like Article 38 has to be taken. It should be relied upon for this particular subunit, and case laws also should be looked after in this particular unit. Next is recognition of states and government, the de facto recognition, de jure recognitions are often asked in examination, and also doctrines are asked from this particular recognition, extension doctrine, extrada doctrines. So please be thorough with these doctrines as well. And then if you take refugees, mostly they'll ask questions from the conventions, when the convention on refugee, when it was ratified, and when it was adopted, and which year it was came up. All those questions will be asked from these particular units. And next is extradition and asylum. Lots of case laws have been asked from extradition and asylums. Okay. So next we have UN and its organs. Very, very important. For this purpose, you have to study entire UN Charter. So like from from the preamble. So like previously, like preamble, they'll be asking questions from each and every lines of the preamble. So please read line by line. And Article 1, Article 2, in which article UNSC has been established, in which article ICJ has been established. So those questions will be asked. So kindly look into those entire UN Charter, and then for settlement of international dispute, kindly refer to ICJ's charter as well. And then we have World Trade Organization. So they'll be asking questions regarding like this, like how does the WTO came into force, and how it was established, the predecessors, the year which it was established, and the composition, and ministerial meetings. So only these kinds of questions will be asked from WTO. Next, we have IHS, International Humanitarian Law. So basically, they'll ask questions from conventions and protocol. So the all Geneva Convention, which convention deals with like soldiers and civilians. So all these questions will be asked from the Geneva Conventions and its protocol, which year, and common articles of the Geneva Conventions will be frequently asked in the examination. Okay, so yeah, so implementation of IHL and challenges. So these are the units for international law. And if you take frequently asked questions in this particular unit, you will be getting questions from definition, as I told you before, like sources of international law, ICJ statute, UN Charter, doctrines and recognition, case laws. Here also you will be expecting case laws. That too, they would ask questions like arrange the case laws from old to new. Okay, so for that you need to take notes regarding the chronological order of these cases, which is readily available in UN website, and then international conventions and IHL conventions and basic concepts like Geneva Convention, its a common article and its protocol, which here they have came into force and everything. Okay, so these are all the important units, like important areas you have to cover in the international law. Without covering these area, you can't go to the examination. Okay, that's very important. Next we can see the prescribed books for international law. We have Malcolm and Shaw, like for international law, or you can go for VK Ahuja. Okay, so Malcolm and Shaw is a foreign author. If it is very difficult for you, you can go for VK Ahuja. Okay. Then, Unit 4, Law of Crimes. In Law of Crimes, we have general principles like actus reus, mens rea. So definitely there will be a question from this particular first subunit. That is actus reus and mens rea. We have some Latin terms regarding it. So see the Latin terms: individual and group liability and constructive liability. So the common intention, common object. So the case laws regarding common intention and common object are very important. So the first, definitely there'll be at least one question from this first subunit. Next, we have status of crime and inchoate crime. So abatement, what is abatement, and criminal conspiracy, under which provision they have given criminal conspiracy, and attempt under the various provisions. So these are all important. And next we have general exceptions. So if you're studying for law of crimes, you're going to study IPC. So if you take IPC, definitely without reading general exceptions, you can't cover this particular unit. So for examination, definitely you're going to stick on to IPC only, so not the new law. So please read your general exception, starting from which chapter until the private defense. Everything comes under your general exception. So you should be thorough with each and every provision of it. Okay. Next is offenses against human body. So their murder, rape, kidnap, abduction, very important, lengthy but very important. So difference between murder and culpable homicide, exception, explanation. You can't miss any of those and illustrations given under, because questions will be directly asked from the illustrations. So if you're reading for IPC, read the illustrations and explanation exceptions also, because directly they will ask directly they quote such illustrations in exam and they ask for your right answer. Okay. So by simply reading the explanation illustrations will help you out. Next is offenses against state and terrorism. So what are the offenses against the state? This punishment, very important. Next is offenses against property. This is also very big, lengthy, like your theft, criminal breach of trust, and everything comes under this particular like mischief. Everything comes under this offenses against property, and offenses against women and children. Okay, so like recent amendments regarding women and children, ranging from acid attack and attempt to acid attack, outraging the modesty of women. Under that, we have the amendments like stalking, voyeurism, everything. So you have to cover all those things. And amendment made to Section 376. So everything is very important. So you have to cover all these amendment, and you have to make sure the year in which this amendment were made. Okay, so even the years will be asked in the examination. Okay, next is drug trafficking and counterfeiting, offenses against public tranquility, and finally we have theories and kinds of punishment compensation to the victims of crime. Okay, so you know all the theory, deterrent theory, retributive theory, who's the father of deterrent theory, retributive theory, who propounded it, and so reformative theory. So all those theories are very important. Definitely, you might expect a question from the theories as well. Okay. So yeah, these are the important units under IPC. And let's see the frequently asked question, the general defenses, offenses and its ingredients. So ingredients are very important. So you should read each and every provisions by heart, illustrations, criminal law amendments, and recent criminal law judgments. So if you take about 377, we have lots of case laws regarding it, uh, like recently we have Supreme judgment as well, which is connected to it. So all those important recent criminal law judgments are very important. Like your adultery judgment is very important. Apart from these frequently asked questions, and they will ask questions in the definitions. Okay, if you take previous examination, they have asked death constitutes what. So for that, you need to be thorough with the definition. So definition clause is also very important. See the definition clause. See the punishment clause. So what are the different categories of punishments given under IPC? What is solitary confinement? The limits of solitary confinement. Even though they are not given in the portions explicitly, questions are frequently asked for our examination. Okay, so you have to cover that as well. So you start from your preamble, your section 1, section 2, 3, go with the definitions, and then whatsoever given under your units, cover everything. IPC will be a cakewalk. Your offenses will your law of crimes will be a cakewalk. Very easy, very interesting. So you can start with unit 4 when you're preparing for the examination. Okay. Okay, so prescribed book, you should definitely read your IPC barrack. You can't skip the barrack. Plain reading of the barrack will be very helpful. And then you can refer to Ratan Lal and Dheeraj Lal book on IPC, which you can get case laws or any principles. So that'll be very helpful for the examination. Okay. So let's move on to the next unit, that is unit 5, law of torts and consumer protection. So like it constitutes nature and definition of torts, general principles of tortious liability, general defenses, specific torts like negligence, nuisance, trespass, and defamation, remoteness of damage, strict and absolute liability, tortious liability of the state. Okay, so these are very important for law of torts. As you all know, definition given by Winfield, Salmon, Fraser, all these definitions are repeatedly asked in examination, which you can't at all skip it. And then what is given under Limitation Act, which provision under Limitation Act they are defined this tortious liability, and whether it is law of tort or law of torts, who came up with these different concepts. So all are very important, which you can't escape from this particular unit. And next, we have general principles of tortious liability. And third one is general defenses. So general defenses are very, very important, like act of God, voluntary not fit injuria, accident. So all these things are very important. So you have to study those general defenses along with case laws. We have so many case laws and torts, and they're all very, very interesting. You have to read all those case laws. Okay. Next, we have specific thoughts like negligence, nuisance, trespass, and defamation. So, if you take defamation, you have to study the difference between libel and slander. They definitely ask questions from it, and they'll be asking questions from strict and absolute liability. So, the Ryland versus Fletcher, MC Mehta case, the differences, like strict liabilities exception and everything. So, it's a very, very important subunit which you have to study. Next is remoteness of damage. So how can you fix a damage? So we have different case like Wagonmon case. So different case laws would have dealt with remoteness of damages um, by directness, foreseeability. So all these things must be focused on subunit 5, remoteness of damages. And next we have tortious liability of the state. So what if a tort is committed by state, whether state is liable or not? In which circumstances the states are liable? In which circumstances which states are not liable? So those things will be covered under the last unit. See the case laws accordingly. And next, in this unit, along with torts, we have other minor acts like Consumer Protection Act of 1986, like definition, consumer right, and redressal mechanism. We also have new law. So just study the new law, the differences, because in the new law they would have spoken about online commerce and everything. So study both the laws and see the differences in the jurisdiction. Okay, so if it is a district level, state level, national level, so how much money you can like what is the monetary value? So see the differences. So this is very important in this particular subunit. Next, we have Motor Vehicles Act 1988. So see the year 1988. It is very important. Read along with the sometimes they would directly ask in which year the particular act has been in like has came into force. So it's 1988. So read the year thoroughly. So in here they would be asking question on no fault liability, third party insurance and claims tribunal. And apart from this, they would be asking to arrange the provisions based on the order. So just give a bare reading of the index of this particular act, which will be helpful to clear such questions. Next, we have Competition Act 2002. Here, they will be asking questions on prohibition of certain agreement, abuse of dominant positions, regulations of combinations. So before going into these separate provisions, read the preamble of this particular act because questions will be asked in the preamble and when it was came into effect. So all these questions are very important. So kindly read such questions from the minor act. Okay. So minor act you don't have to worry about, but still you have to study. At least they might ask 2 to 3 questions. So 1 to 3 questions you might expect from these minor acts. Okay, you can't skip. Next is frequently asked questions from this particular topic. As I've already said before, general defenses, case laws and definition. In Consumer Protection Act, definitions, statutory body, pecuniary jurisdiction, and for books for torts, you can go for Ratan Lal and Dheeraj Lal and Dr. R.K. Bangya. So you can go with either of these books. And for consumer protection, motor vehicle, competition act, bar act is more than sufficient. Okay. So read all these provisions of the bar act. Next, we have Unit 6, commercial law. So in commercial law, we have different kinds of laws per se. Like if you take the first 4 units deals with law of contracts. So you have to read the entire law of contract. Okay. So like the essential elements of contract, section 2 is very, very, very important. Not even a single law exam question paper would be without section 2. So what is agreement? What is contract? What is void? Agreement where they have been defined. So all these things are very important. So see all those provisions. And next you have breach of contract. So the compensation and what is frustration of contract, what is void and voidable agreement. So these are repeatedly asked questions and case laws along with it would be asked repeatedly in examination. Next we have standard forms of contract and quasi contract. Next, we have specific contracts like bailment, pledge, indemnity, guarantee, and agencies. Okay. So all these, for all these things, you have to see the provisions, the ingredients. They definitely ask questions from bailment, pledge, indemnity, guarantee, and agency. Okay. At least there'll be 2 questions from these particular subunit. Okay. So please be thorough with all the provisions and their ingredients. Okay. Next, we have minor acts. So in minor act, we have Seal of Goods Act. We have to study the entire act. No one can help it. So, but in Sale of Goods Act, at least study what's the difference between warranties. So what is a breach of warranty and conditions. So those things are very important. Definitions are very important. So Sale of Goods Act. And next we have partnership and limited liability partnership. So in Partnership Act also we have like doctrine called doctrine of holding out and read the entire Partnership Act at least for once. You'll be very thorough with it, so nothing to worry about it. It's very easy. Next, I have Negotiable Instrument Act. For Negotiable Instrument Act, kindly read the definitions and what is check and like crossing of check and fail dishonor of check. So all these things are very important in Negotiable Instrument Act. So what is check and what is bill of exchange and holder in due course, so payment in due course. So all these things would be repeatedly asked in the examination. In company law, it is very, very simple. You're going to study about incorporation of a company. So how a company is established, what is prospectus. So if you take prospectus, you have different kinds of prospectus. So study those different kinds of prospectus, and then you have shares, different types of shares and debentures. So respective provisions given under company law, and company laws directors, different types of directors, and how the meeting has been held. So all these things must be covered. And next, we have corporate social responsibility. Very, very easy and very important area in company law. So, which provision it deals with, and when a company will be liable. So, what's the criteria for the company to indulge in corporate social responsibility? So, all those criteria should be remembered, and so these things are very important under corporate social responsibility. You have so many amendments also, so study those amendments as well. So apart from that, corporate social responsibility is very easy, and you may definitely expect one question from corporate social responsibility. Okay. So next, frequently asked questions, so definitions, provisions, case laws, illustrations. So these are important aspects that look in the chapter. And books prescribed for law of contract, you can refer to Avatar Singh. For contract, you can go for Dr. A.K. Bangia. And for other minor acts, you can go for Barracks. Okay. So seventh is family law. Very important, very voluminous, because you have Hindu law, Muslim law. In Hindu law and Muslim law, you have marriages. Before marriages, you have different schools, its origin, and marriage, adoption, succession. Uh, so it is very lengthy. You have different laws for it. So yeah. So first, sources and schools are very important for both Hindu law and Muslim law. And next, marriage and dissolution of marriage. So entire barak, it has to be read from all the definitions like custom, uterine blood, half blood, all these definitions should be read, and conditions for valid marriage, registration of marriage, then restoration of conjugal rights, judicial separation, divorce, theories of divorce. So everything is very important under the marriage provision. And if you take Muslim law, the different types of divorces like Ilan, Kula, Mubarak, and the talaq, different types of talaqs are very important. So you have to see all those things in marriages and dissolution of marriage. And we also have dissolution of marriage act for Muslim women. So you have to see the grounds, because questions are also asked in this particular act as well, apart from your family law. Next, you have okay. So next we have changing dimensions of institution of marriage, like live-in relationship. So you have lots of case laws regarding to live-in relationship. So you have to see those case laws as well. Next, you have recognition of foreign decrees in India on marriage and divorce. So for this particular subunit, you have to refer to your CPC, I think section 13 would have spoken about recognition of foreign decree in Indian marriages and divorces. So for this, you have to refer to your CPC. Questions are also asked from this particular subunit. Okay. So next we have maintenance, dower, and Shridan. So what is maintenance? What is dower? And what different types of dowers? So prompt dower and Shridan. So these questions will be asked in the examination. And we have adoption in Hindu under Hindu law, and guardianship and acknowledgement. So option of puberty is there in our Muslim law. So you have to see all those provisions, because if you take Hindu law, they are directly asked questions from adoption act itself. Okay. Next, we have succession and inheritance. So if you take succession and inheritance, you have to see each and every provisions. And the last is schedule attached, class 1 higher, class 2 higher hairs. So these class 1 hairs and class 2 hairs are repeatedly asked question. Next, you have will, gift, and work. So, what are different kinds of gifts, and what is work? So, like how like the percentage that you can give, and different concepts are involved in work. So, all these things will be asked in examination. And finally, have uniform civil code. So, case laws. So, generally, uniform civil codes all deal with case laws. See the article in Constitution and the John Vallamotum case. So the different cases in Uniform Civil Code. So remember to study all these case laws given under Uniform Civil Code. Okay, it's very happening topic as well. So be thorough with the latest development under Uniform Civil Code. Okay, so yeah, this is all about family law. Next, so these are the frequently asked questions that I have discussed. So conditions of married marriage, grounds of divorce, Restoration of conjugal rights, it's case law, like Sarita case law, and school and sources of Muslim personal law, types of divorces, and these are the books I prescribe for you to refer for family law, Dr. Paras Devan or S.R. Mainini. Okay, so whichever works for you, you can refer the book. Okay. Next is environmental and human rights law. So environmental law, it is like very important because they will be asking questions on basic definitions like what is environment and environmental pollution, where it has been defined, and you have numerous law to study, a law study in this particular unit. So you have to study Water Act, Air Act, Forest Act, Wildlife Protection Act, Environment Protection Act, Forest Dwellers Act, NGT. So whatsoever it is, you have to study all the laws, and you should also make notes when these laws came into effect, because they will be asking the date when it came into effect. And you should also focus on the definition of environment, or definition of biodiversity, definition of pollution under Water Act or Air Act. So all these definitions are straight away asked in the examination. You have to study the entire provision. You can't skip at all. Next, you have international environmental law and UN conferences, Stockholm, your Rio Declaration, and the 26 principles and 25 principles and outcome of it. Everything will be asked in this particular subunit 2. Okay, and international conventions like Ramsar Convention, Yoga Protocol, Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement. So all these things, Montreal Protocol, all these important protocols will be asked from this particular subunit 2, which you have to be thorough, and you should also know their chronological order, because chronological orders will also be asked in the examination, and the recent development will also be asked in this particular unit. Okay, if you take conference of party. So when is the next conference of party is going to be held, where it is going to be held will also be asked in the examination. So you have to be very thorough with the national international development also. In the current affairs also, you have to focus on this particular unit. Next, we have environmental impact assessment and control of hazardous waste in India. So what is environmental impact assessment? So what are the criterias? So in which project is it is important? How it should be conducted? So all these questions are covered under this particular subunit. Finally, NGT, very important when it came to effect. It is its definition, composition, eligibility of the people to be the member of NGT, and the functions, the principle, everything will become, and schedules. So what are the schedules? And what are the schedules, the name of the schedules? These are all very important under NGT. NGT is must, you can't escape at all. Next is human rights. Human rights also very lengthy and very big subject to study, because you have concept and development of human rights. So three generations of human rights. They always ask questions from the three generations of human rights. So please be thorough with the three generations. Next, we have universalism and cultural relativism. International Bill of Rights. So UDHR, ICCPR, ICESCR. So all those provisions must be read. At least UDHR should be thorough with all the provisions, all the articles, the order in which they come. Okay, so that they'll ask an examination sure shortly. Next, you have group rights like women, children, person with disabilities, and other weaker section. So here they'll be asking convention. So convention for women, like CEDAW, and convention right of children. When did India ratify it? When this conventions came into effect? So did India is India signatory or not? Have we ratified or not? Such questions will be asked. If you take women, there are different conferences for the women, and there are also other women conventions apart from CEDAW. So see all those conventions. So they are all frequently asked questions from human rights. Next we have NHRC. So NHRC, the National Commission for Women, National Commission for SC/STs, and National Commission for Backward Class. So NHRC, for this you have to study the Protection of Human Rights Act, so that talks about establishment of NHRC, its composition, eligibility, term, appointment, termination, and what they do. Everything comes under this particular act. So read the entire act. And for other statutory bodies, if we take for example, National Commission for SC and ST, you have constitutional articles also. So see all those constitutional articles and amendments that are frequently asked in examination. Okay, it's very important. So don't miss these points. Okay, so this is all about human rights. So these are the frequently asked questions like international convention, date of adoption and enforcement, national legislation, date of adoption and enforcement, preamble, definition clause, statutory bodies, schedules, case laws. So all these things are important. So do not forget to study all this unit under environmental law and human rights law. Okay, so for the books, you can go for S.K. Kapoor for human rights, and for environmental law, you can go with S.E. Shastri and Barrett. So Barretts are very important. Do not skip the Barretts. Okay. Next, we have IPR and IT. Okay, so for IPR, it's very easy. Still, it is a voluminous act because we have like Patent Act, copyright, trademark. So questions will ask. So you should be thorough with the years because they might ask questions like which law came first and which is the latest law. So be thorough with all the laws in the dates which they came into effect, and have theories of intellectual properties like personality theory and everything under this like under theories of intellectual property, right? So be thorough with all the theories. And next, we have many international conventions. If we take patent law, we have different conventions, and if we take copyright, we have different conventions. Even for trademark, we have different kinds of conventions. And in total, we have Paris Convention and then TRIPS. So have to study all these conventions, their preamble, when they came into effect. So these are very important and they are frequently asked in examinations. Next, we have copyright and neighboring rights. So if you take copyright law, they will ask what is subject matters of copyright. So section 13, the limitation, exceptions, infringement and remedies. So exception comes under fair use. So all these things are very important, and they will ask important case laws from the copyright law. And next we have law of patent. So for law of patent, what are the patentable criteria and procedure, how you will get the patent, limitation, the compulsory licensing, infringement and remedy. Also read the case laws regarding the evergreening, compulsory licensing, the NATCO, the buyer's case, everything, no veritas. So these are all important case laws that would be asked from law of patent. Next, we have law of trademark, like registration of trademark, kinds of trademark, infringement, passing off and remedies. So the grounds of refusal for trademarks are also very important. Study all these concepts under law of trademark. Next, we have protection of geographical indication. So read the act, its preamble. So read what are the subject matters that are granted with geographic indication. Next, we have biodiversity and traditional knowledge. So for this, we have Biodiversity Act. Read the act here, its preamble and the convention and the like patent and biodiversity related provisions. So what is the fair and equitable sharing? What's the percentage? So all these things are necessary for the unit 8. Okay. So next we have IT. So in IT, it's very easy, very simple. Definitely they will ask question from the preamble. So in preamble, what I mentioned about unsettled law, and they will also ask question from the schedule. Schedule is also very important. They have deleted one schedule also. They will also ask in which year the schedule has been deleted. So please be thorough the schedules also. And then the chapters. For each and every chapter, they have different subheadings like digital signature, electronic governance, electronic records, duties of the subscriber. So see the definition clause. From the definition clause, the last questions like where is digital signature or electronic signature has been defined. So all these things are very important. And the 10th one is very interesting, cyber crimes. So what are the cyber crimes? Its punishment, penalty, and adjudication. So very, very important and must to read because you will definitely expect one question from cyber crimes. Okay. So these are all about IT Act. And next we have frequently asked questions, as I said, theories of IPR, international conventions on IPR, national legislation, date of adoption and enforcement, definition clause, invention that are not patentable, compulsory license, author, and under like who is an author under copyright, relative grounds and absolute grounds for refusal of registration, and case laws. So these are all very important under the previous unit that you have done now. Next, for book, for IPR, you can go for VK Ahuja or Dr. S. Mainini, and Bar Act is sufficient. For IT Act, Bar Act is more than sufficient. Okay. IT Act, along with the Bar Act, read the Shreya single case because they will all the time you ask questions from the Shreya single case. Okay. Next, last unit, it is comparative public law and system of governance. So, comparative public law and system of governance is nothing but our constitution that has been compared with other countries like UK, America, and some aspects are being compared from Canada, even South Africa, Japan, France. So it is like quite tricky subject, but if you see study the salient features of law and where we have borrowed our constitution. So if you have studied that unit alone, you can at least answer 1 to 2 questions from this particular unit. Okay. So like see the compare forms of governance, difference between presidential and parliamentary government, unitary and federal government, and mode of federalism, comparison between USA, Canada, and India. So if you take USA, it's like a proper federal government. If you take Canada and India, it's quasi federalism. So where we have both unitary model, strong unitary and federalism model. Next, rule of law. So you know what is rule of law? Article 14. It's formal and substantive version. Next, you have separation of powers. So separation of powers that is in India, UK, USA, and France. Okay. So studying the separation of powers that is being practiced in India, UK, US, and France. Next is independence of judiciary, judicial activism, and judicial accountability. So India, UK, and USA. Okay, so like how we have like integrated and independent judiciary, how it works in UK and USA, and constitutional review of India, US, Switzerland, and France, amendment of the constitution. So you know, in India, we have a flexible kind of amendment where we have rigid and where we have where we have simple amendment and two-third amendment, two-third plus half of the state amendment. So likewise, you have in USA, South Africa. USA, it's very strict. Amendment is like it's very difficult to come up. So you have to see how amendments are made in USA. And next, you have South Africa. Finally, we have ombudsman. So you know, ombudsman first and foremost has been established in Sweden. Later, it has been established in UK and then in India. So for ombudsman, we have to study our Lok Ayuktha, Lokpal Act. So Lokpal, Lok Ayuktha Act, you have to study. Okay. So if you start, because questions will be asked from that in our examination. Okay. So first and foremost, if they ask a question from ombudsman, they'll be asking in which country ombudsman was first established. It's Sweden. It's like a mandatory question to ask from ombudsman. Apart from that, you'll ask questions from India, that is from Lokpal Act only. Okay. Next, subunit 10, open government and right to information, USA, UK, and India. So for right to information, you have to study our RTA Act of India. So when it came into force, definitions and like how the exceptions, everything will come under RTA. So all these things must be studied for our last unit. Okay. So next, prescribed book. For this, I am prescribing Comparative Constitutional Law, a book written by Dr. Durgadas Basu. So this will be helpful. And you can also browse internet and you can also make your own notes in this because this book will be very voluminous. And if you have your own notes, it will be very helpful for your examination as well. Okay. Next. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. This is all about our units for our TNSET examination. Hope this would have given you an orientation and important areas to study. And if you focus on all these areas, it will be very helpful for examination to clear your examination. I wish you all the very best. So we also offer classes for paper 1 and paper 2. So this is our contact number. So for any queries and for any questions, you can contact with the number given in the screen. Okay. Thank you so much.